All right. So, Phil Garcia, thanks for coming on here and interviewing with me.
Not a problem. Let's do this.
So, I want to start off by asking you, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in southern Spain in a town called Puerto de Santa Maria. It's located next to a Navy base in Rota. And that's the southern tip, just about an hour or so north of Cadiz and about 45 minutes south of Sevilla. I moved there in 1981 and I left Spain in 1988 to come to Port Hueneme, California. Another surrounding town, the major town there is Oxnard, California. And so I've been here ever since.
Huh. So your dad was in the military, so that's why you guys were in southern Spain?
Well, yeah, most people would think so, but actually it was my mom that was in the military. She's the one that wore the boots in the family.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Nice.
Yeah. Well, she's awesome. She worked hard, and, can't thank her enough for that.
So the last name Garcia, where does that stem from?
Last name Garcia, well, my family comes from Cuba. My dad was born in Havana.
Oh, nice.
And, before that, my family migrated from northern Spain, from a town called Astudia. And that's about as much as I know.
That's pretty cool. So you guys are in Spain because your mother was in the military. Is there a military base over there? A U.S. military base?
Yes, there's a large naval base there in Rota, Spain.
Huh.
And, I pretty much grew up outside of the base. I had two sets of friends, my American friends when I went to school, and I had my Spanish friends when I was out in town living life like a normal kid.
Wow. So you were there from 3 years old to about 9 years old?
Yes.
Okay.
From 3 to 9.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was actually, how old are you again? You're 40, right?
Yes, I'm 40. Just hit 40 last month in June.
You know what's funny is while you were in Spain, I was actually in Italy for 3 years.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you were a military kid too, right?
Yeah. So my dad was stationed in Italy from 83 to 86.
Rad.
Yeah.
I got arrested in Italy.
Did you?
Yeah, I was getting in a bar fight. Not one of my better moments, but I was in Sicily.
Oh, wow. So wait, so you were stationed in Sicily? Is that what you said?
No, I got stationed. I had a deployment, and I was in Rota, Spain, where I grew up, which was pretty fortunate, And I was doing pretty good over there, and I went out to have to replace two knuckleheads that, got in trouble out in town. And en route to Suda Bay, Greece, I got a layover in Sicily for about a week, and I managed to find myself getting in trouble over there.
Oh, jeez. You ever done anything with like Wounded Warriors or anything like that?
No, but right now I'm currently talking to an ex-Navy SEAL who runs a website and campaign called Vital Warrior.
Oh, nice.
I've just been introduced to him over the last week, and he reached out and drove over an hour out of his way to come and meet me and share some stories and see if he can help.
Oh, that's great, man.
See where that takes us.
Yeah, we got a couple of people that come into my shop, and they, they have like different varying degrees of PTSD, and it's almost like they use the tattooing as getting tattooed as a way to kind of like release some of that stuff.
Yeah, I would actually use giving tattoos to release a lot of that,
Yeah.
What keeps us here a lot of the time, if it isn't family, it's our passion, to do certain things. And for me, putting a tattoo on somebody and watching them smile and walk away happy, you can't beat that. You just can't,
So, art school. Have you had any art school at all?
The only schooling I ever had was in high school from my 11th and 12th grade art teacher, Mr. Dave Smith.
Gotcha.
That's about it. I actually ended up tattooing his daughter about 6 years ago, so that was
cool.
pretty neat.
Was he cool with it?
Yeah, he was awesome. He was pretty stoked. It was really weird seeing him. I remember him just being an amazing artist, and it was like sitting in art class wondering if I'd ever have those kind of skills, you know.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man. It's really neat.
Did you start tattooing in the military, or
Yes.
did you? Okay.
Yes, I started in 2001, April of 2001, and I bought a set of Joe Kaplan machines off the back of some tattoo magazine. They were aluminum. They rattled like hell. I think they only gave me like a 3-liner and a 5-round shader and some crappy Palmolive soap to go with it and
Oh
some
wow.
paint. Oh yeah, good God! So I tattooed myself, and it was good enough to convince my idiot friends to let me fuck their skin up.
Yeah. Dude, I started tattooing in the military as well, and I think that's the best place to start because you just got a slew of GIs that
Oh,
are just ready to give up their skin. It's awesome.
exactly. And I think a lot of us started that way. Come to find out, I thought I was unique, but no, I'm not. A lot of other people, like pretty much, I would say half the industry has probably done that.
Yeah. And then you started tattooing in 2001, and then when did you get out of the military?
January of 2006.
Oh, so you were tattooing in the military for 5 years before you got out and started like. Did you
Oh
work in a
yeah.
tattoo shop while you were in the
Yes, I worked
military?
at a tattoo shop the entire time,
Get
and let me
out!
tell you what, I made more money than my commanding officer tattooing, and
Oh my
so
god!
I really had a shitty attitude after the last 5 years of my career, especially after coming home from war. I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, um, playing military is fun, but when you show up to the tattoo shop and you come home with like $400 to $600, and you come home with $400 to $600 in your pocket, you know what I mean, every day, it's hard to want to wake up at dark 30 and go report to the man,
yeah.
So I ended up getting out because I had a career for me, going quite well in tattooing. And
Right.
so
Oh,
if
that's awesome.
I didn't tattoo, I would still be in till this day. I mean, I actually enjoyed being in the military.
Yeah, 2001. That was a good 4 or 5 years before any of the TV shows dropped. So it was really
Yeah.
starting to pick up steam there. I remember, basically I started in '98, and
Okay.
from '98 on, it was just a constant, you know, progression forward in popularity. So I
Yep.
think you and I got in it at a pretty good time.
Yeah, we got in back in the days when, we had to make our own needles, scrub our own tubes,
Yeah,
and some people even had to make their own pigment. Fortunately for me, there was already some pigment companies out there, so I didn't
Starbright.
that experience. Yeah, I was using Millennium,
Oh
or
yeah, I remember
known
Millennium.
as Mom's Tattoo Ink.
Yep.
But Millennium Ink was actually quite nice back then. And then I think about 2003, roughly, I ended up getting the Reinventing the Tattoo from Guy Aitchison.
Yep.
And from that point forward, my career progressed. So I was doing shitty tattoos up until that point, and then when I got Guy's book, it just changed everything for me, and I've done nothing but gotten better since then.
Yeah, Guy's book was too thick for me, and the writing was too small.
Yeah, I didn't even get a book; it was in a binder,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, no, that's
I
exactly what
guess
it
he
was.
only made like 100 of them and stuff.
Yeah. How long did you tattoo out of your barracks or whatever, your house, before you actually landed a legit job?
I was tattooing for probably a month and a half before I gathered up the courage to go hit up some burly biker guy for a job in his shop. And his name was Big Bob. I walk into the shop and I hit him up for a job. He says, "Go get your portfolio." So I did that. I went out to my truck, grabbed my portfolio, walk in. He looked at it. It seemed to be good enough, so he says, "Yeah, come in here tomorrow, set up and tattoo." And so I said, "Fuck it." I came back the next day against all my friends' good advice. They said, "No, don't do it." And I rolled up into the shop. I picked his station because he wasn't there. And I just set up my gear and I snagged the first client that walked in. and started tattooing on him, and the guy tapped out about 3 hours later. And the following day I go back, and Big Bob's all, I heard you did a big-ass tattoo yesterday. Some balls on you. And I was like, shit, man, I'm sorry you told me to come in and tattoo, man. And from that point forward, I think I had gained the respect of them, you know. And so they handed me over the keys to the shop, you know, 3 days later. And I was closing the shop, and it was super awkward. And, you know, I guess they had the thought that, you know, no one's going to fuck them over. And for damn sure, I had no intentions. So, yeah, it was a gnarly experience for my first time ever working in a shop. And I really can't thank them enough, because I actually did learn quite a bit, and I did make money hand over fist over there. It just spiked my interest even more for tattooing. I figured out one thing very important early on in my career, and this I think is to be very, very valuable, is that I never had to try and swindle somebody to get into my chair. I always felt that the better my art got, the more people would land in my chair.
Right.
So I looked at who was the top artists in the industry, who were the top people in my county, and from there I just progressed forward. I would try my hardest to either emulate or, you know, be inspired by them and try and get to that level. And yes, I had done everything wrong in the book as far as like taking someone's art, drawing over it, trying to see what I can do different about it, you know what I mean? And I only did that a few times, and still until I started realizing I'm not very interested in that. I want to do my own stuff, you know? And so by honing my own art skills, it would bring more and more cash flow into my pocket, which is what I needed, because I wanted to be out of the military. I didn't want to go to war anymore. You know, I didn't think I was cut out for it mentally. And so I would rather be tattooing somebody's skin and putting a nice smile on their face at the end of the day, instead of being hunkered down in a foxhole or sticking my head out of the top of a Humvee. You know, I was a 50 cal gunner, so lifespan's not too great on a 50 cal gunner. And so I knew that if I went back to war, chances are I was going to die the next deployment. And so, yeah, tattooing, much better.
I didn't know who you were at all. I was just like, oh, this guy's cool, and we just talked and whatever. And then, you know, of course, we continued talking over the years, but really I didn't have any idea about what type of work you were doing or anything like that. I was just like, oh, I like this dude, you know? And then like, it was like all of a sudden, at least from my perspective, I was just like, holy crap, Phil's killing it, man. And I can't remember, I don't think it was a rose that I saw when I was like, oh, he's killing it. I think you were doing a lot of photorealistic stuff, and I remember there was like an eagle or something, or a hawk or something, some sort of bird. And I just remember seeing.
I was doing a lot of animals back then, not so many flowers, a lot of animals and birds and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I remember seeing that and being like, holy shit, he's fucking doing some dope stuff. And then all of a sudden you were the fucking rose dude, and it was just like everything you were doing roses.
I don't even know how that worked out. I never intentionally sought out to be a rose tattooing expert. I think it was more of a mistake, you know. Do a good tattoo, and it draws a lot of people in. Eventually, that becomes your staple, you know.
Yeah, you're the fucking pigeonhole.
My diet of tattooing consists mainly of roses, and it's not what I wanted, but I'll take it because it feeds my family. I'm good at it, and I actually enjoy tattooing roses, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do enjoy morphing things together and double exposure, but like anything, it becomes a trend in the industry, and when things become a trend, I tend to go the other way. So when I started doing realism, everyone was doing portraits.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to be a portrait guy. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do animals. I'm going to do flowers. my first inspiration for, realistic art was Tom Renshaw. And if you go through his portfolio back in the early 2000s, there was barely even a portrait of anybody. It was all animals.
Right.
And that was black and gray, that alone, but it was incredible and still is in my mind. And so that was my first inspiration to, technical tattooing, aside of Guy Aitchison and all the, the color palette and textures that he would use and the dynamic flow of everything.
So there was a lot of shit online about people photoshopping their tattoos. Obviously I have seen your tattoos in person, and I know they're just as fucking awesome as person as they are online. But how did all that start, and where did it go?
Well, I think once Realism came about, people started downloading or buying Photoshop, and they started realizing what Photoshop is capable of. Everyone knows what tattoo ink looks like in the skin. If it looks super plastic and pastel-y and too bright, and the skin's too fucking red, or the skin's bleached white all around it, that means you're doing something wrong. You're fucking up. You're tricking your viewers. You're selling your customers short. You're a fugazi. You're wrong. You're doing it wrong. Photoshop's a tool. It's meant to be used in a certain way. It's to help you, not, put a bunch of money in your pocket, not feed your ego. Okay. That's one thing a lot of people get wrong. And so everyone's guilty of using Photoshop. Everyone. Okay. It's the ones that overdo it, that lie to their clients and customers and fans. Those are the ones that are pretty much shunned in the tattoo world.
Huh.
In my eyes. That's what I think. I think a lot of it, for me, being a realism artist, I wouldn't say I had more to deal with, but I don't know, maybe it did. People didn't see realism art before. They didn't know that it could be so good. And, it was hard for us to swallow that pill when people were talking shit about your tattoos and you did nothing but do the tattoo and take a photo and post it. And so, it really sucked. It hurt my feelings a lot. I got under my skin, and so, I made it more of a point to do even better tattoos and show these people and get on the road and go out in public and showcase my work and let these people know that this shit is real. It's not photoshopped. And so showing healed photo work is the best thing you could ever do. Your healed photo work is always going to prove, where you stand in this industry. Okay? Anyone can do a fresh tattoo and make it look fucking hot. But if that shit heals fucked up and it doesn't look good in the long run, hey, you just screwed your client over. People don't understand the amount of work that goes into the art that we create. And it's so easy for them to just touch it and label Photoshop on it,
Right.
And that sucks. And on another note, when you mentioned, taking a regular 35 millimeter camera and scanning the picture, and man, that's impressive. And a lot of people don't understand that if they make an investment in their career and actually buy a DSLR camera, that is going to improve the quality of their photos. And so I bought a DSLR camera back in 2005, and I got so much shit for posting great photos because I didn't use a cheap fucking disposable camera for my tattoo photos.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of criticism for that. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, man. You don't understand what I'm doing and what I'm using to get these photographs. Worry about you. Don't care about what everyone else is doing, okay? When you start worrying about whatever somebody else is doing to their photo and what they're doing to their game to make themselves strong, that's called ego. You're worried about competing with them. You know what I mean? Worry about yourself. Set your ego aside and stop pointing fingers about who's photoshopping and who's not, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's what matters is that your client walked into your tattoo shop and got a tattoo from you. And that's all that fucking matters.
The archival value of tattoos with maybe not as much black or maybe not an outline. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what's the oldest realism tattoo that you've seen that you've done?
Oh man. Well, I did have to do some experimenting. I won some and lost some. I got tattoos out there that I did that are realistic that did not hold up. I'm not perfect, but I have made it a point to learn from those experiences. Okay, and so first off, be smart about where you're putting the tattoo. If the tattoo is on the outer part of the body where the sun hits it the most and the skin's a lot more weathered, you're more likely going to have to use a high amount of contrast for that to hold. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need black outlines. It just means you need more contrast. And you also got to look at the person's art. Are they light? And so forth. You can't be using, yellow ink on tan skin. It's just not going to be popping. That yellow ink's going to be vibrant as hell on white skin. You know what I mean? Or light skin, to say. Sorry, not trying to sound racist here. If you put brightly colored tattoos on the inside parts of the body, inner arms, top of the thighs, or wherever the sun doesn't hit, in the rib cage or so forth, it's gonna last longer and stand the test of time. It's not going to get bleached out as easily as, per se, it being on the outer part of the body. I'm also a huge fan of line work. I think there is importance in using lines, and that helps create a lot more crisp of an edge, and which implies being a lot more contrast. Contrast is, when it comes to contrast, it's not just one color up against another. It's also the texture. You know what I'm saying? So keep in mind, whether your textures are soft or sharp. You can use contrast via color and hues and so forth. Your clean, saturated colors versus unsaturated colors, or even complementary colors and so forth.
You've been to the Richmond convention the last 2 years. Did you go prior to that at all, or was that your first 2 years?
That was my first 2 years. So I've heard about wild, crazy stories about how much fun it could have been back in the days, and just glad I didn't go. I'm a happily married man, so
Yeah.
I have no business going to those older shows. It's a much nicer show, I would say. But yeah, I heard it was pretty damn wild back in the day, and I got firsthand knowledge from Joe Capobianco about all that. So,
Joe definitely
I'm sure
knows.
it's gnarly.
Joe's an OG. I've been trying to get him to come back.
Yes.
He keeps on going off to London and Spain as if they can compare.
He's being bitter. He's bitter. He doesn't like these American shows anymore. They're all too saturated.
Yeah. All right. So you worked the last 2 years. Like, you've worked a lot of conventions. I'm not looking for any sort of compliments or fluffing or anything like that. But what do you feel like that was it? Did my convention seem any different than any other convention you went to, or is it like the same shit, or what?
I think you have an artist convention, unlike some of these mega conventions that will book any artist that is willing to pay for a booth.
Right.
I think it's awesome that you get a portfolio review before you even get to join a convention, and or invite or what have you. You know what I mean? It sets the bar much higher. So when these customers walk through the door, they know there's nothing but solid tattoo art being executed at the show. And as far as the festivities, I think it's really awesome how you've incorporated graffiti art into the scene, because that was my background before I started tattooing, and I know that was yours as well.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome, because many of us artists made that transition because we're probably tired of being arrested for doing our art. And so
graffiti's not trending anymore. It's called street art.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I'm still gonna call it graffiti because it's illegal and we spray paint walls. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you should come one year and just paint.
I would love to.
Yeah, I think Sketchy's actually going to do that this year, where he's just going to paint. He's not going to tattoo.
That dude's amazing.
Yeah, sketchy's
Love
rad.
artwork.
So, you're going to be teaching at this year's, the first annual Richmond Tattoo and Arts Festival. Do you have any idea of what you're going to be teaching?
Well, I think a lot of people are probably expecting me to do some kind of tech talk, talking about either, tattooing techniques or the gear that we use or whatever. But I actually want to talk a little bit more about something that's important that a lot of people overlook, and that's, the mental and physical health of being a tattoo artist. I think a lot of people don't understand how it can help them or adversely affect them. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to be geared towards. And as far as I know, it's a 45-minute to an hour presentation?
Yeah, 40 minutes, yep.
Okay. So there's not really enough time to get tech talk into a 40-minute presentation. So I'm going to avoid that. And what I am going to do is motivate people in a different way and let them understand what a lot of these junior artists are up against. I've been in the industry for 17, almost 18 years now, and I have a lot to share on the other side of tattooing that a lot of people don't see. And you and I both know, how demanding our job can be, the demands that we place on ourselves, and the demands that the clients place on us.
We both have Latin counterparts too. They're very demanding.
Yeah. When we got, if you're single or you're a family man, it doesn't matter. You can drive yourself into a hole, and how are you going to get out of that? A lot of people focus on skill so much, and they don't understand that there's another side to it that's going to make you a skillful tattoo artist. You know what I mean? How do you keep that drive day in, day out to have the need to be better? A lot of people don't understand what it takes, and if you overdo it, you just may find yourself down and depressed. And I know a lot of artists out there down and depressed and lack confidence in their own art ability.
Right.
And it's not about skill. They're just not applying themselves 100% all around. And that doesn't necessarily mean applying yourself while that machine's in your hand. It's outside of that. And so I think a lot of people really need to, understand that.
Gotcha. So I, for one, being that I'm going to be there listening to you, am mildly disappointed in the fact that I really do want to hear, some of that tech stuff, and I really would like to hear, some of your color theory application and stuff like that. Is there any chance that we can get you to do maybe, I don't know, 20%, 25% of it, just touching on that stuff?
Yeah, I can stick around afterwards and just answer questions with people and talk tech talk. I'm not going to just up and go.
Okay.
I've also considered actually doing a seminar for your show as well.
Well, if you want to do that, you better get on it now, man, because promoting that is very necessary, because people just don't like taking seminars.
Really?
Well, I mean, they do, but you just got to make people aware that it's happening, and we got 58 days until the seminars drop. Until the convention. So, dude, I was thinking about doing next year is actually having the presentations, having 3 presentations on Monday, and then 3 seminars / workshops past that. And then the next day I would do 3 more, and then have 3 after that. So there would be essentially a presentation and then a workshop, and then a presentation and then a workshop.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I can divide the presentation time, 50-50. Oh yeah, well, we got it done, so that's cool.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, thanks so much, man. And whenever this thing drops, I'll let you know, and we'll send you over a little short clips and stuff. And if you'd like to share those, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, man. Anything I can do to help would be nice.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Tell the family I said hi.
All righty.
All right, bud. Later.
Cool. Bye-bye. How's it going, everyone? I'm Phil Garcia, and I will be at this year's Richmond Tattoo and Arts Academy on October 1st. And come watch me teach a nice presentation. Hope to see you there.